Chapter 1278. This lass usually only dared to show off with her mouth. But if he really touched her, she would be more shy than anyone else. His thin lips curled into a smile, becoming increasingly gentle and pampering. He bent over and stretched out his hand to embrace the young lady who was still in a daze. His other hand went around to the wooden frame and pulled Yiqing Luo's uniform down. His hands moved gently and helped her put on her clothes. His movements were neat and skillful, and it took only a moment for him to tie Yiqing Luo's clothes. During the period of Yiqing Luo's training, Dmo Xian not only helped her wash her clothes secretly. He would also gently help her put on her clothes when she was tired, in order to let her sleep a little longer. He was simply the country's best husband, right? It was until the last straps were tied up that Yiqing Luo regained her senses in a daze. Her flustered and shy gaze met Dmo Xian's eyes and her cheeks blushed again. It's almost time. If you're not ready, you'll miss today's good opportunity and have to wait until tomorrow night. Dmo Xian stopped teasing her, his slender fingers pinched her blushed cheeks. Go wash up. Right, the second bell rang in the afternoon. It was the best time to extract the heart bone and heart blood. She wanted to repair the broken glower flame fan and combine her heart bone with the glower flame fan. Thinking of the glower flame fan, the flush on Yiqing Luo's face gradually faded. After washing up, the two of them hurried to meet up with Tang Beiyuan. When Yiqing Luo arrived at the destination, she was stunned. This was the tunnel where Yifeng Yu met Yiqing Qian and Yiqing Ling when he was kidnapped. Because of the conflict with Wolf Saint Law in this tunnel, the entire broken temple and tunnel had become a pile of ruins. Because of this, there were very few people here. Generally, one might not even see a person pass by this place for 10 days to half a month. Choosing this place to extract the heart bone was the safest. In the ruins of the tunnel, an empty space of about 2 meters wide had been cleared. There were arrays placed around. At first glance, there was a sense of déjà vu, as if preparing to exorcise the spirits. Under the night sky, Tang Beiyuan's aqua-colored dress seemed to be plated with a layer of silver light. She gazed at the bright moon in the sky, her gaze focused and emotionless. No one knew what she was thinking. His entire person inexplicably showed a sense of loneliness. She had an extremely simple and exquisite hairstyle. She had bright eyes and white teeth. Her eyebrows were like the moon, and her eyes were like the stars. She was like a goddess under the moonlight, exuding an extremely gentle charm. Tang Beiyuan seemed to have heard the footsteps and withdrew her gaze. Her lips curled into a faint smile as she looked at the newcomer. Di Zun, madam. Yiqing Luo's face turned slightly red. It's better to call me Qing Luo. We haven't even taken a step yet. It's still too early to call me mistress. He tightened his grip on her waist. Dmo Xian leaned close to her ear and said with a smile that didn't look like a smile, nothing has been set in stone yet. So, you've never thought of marrying me? Yiqing Luo blushed and patted the hand on her waist. I didn't mean it that way. That's not what I mean. Still, you want to get married to me? Dmo Xian raised his brows as he leaned his face in front of her, his smile widening. You've, beast. He was simply perverse to the extreme. He actually intentionally tricked her into saying something. No matter if it's early or not, you're the mistress that the overlord has acknowledged, so you're the imperial palace's mistress. Tang Beiyuan smiled brightly as a sliver of envy flashed past her eyes. Yiqing Luo recalled Tang Beiyuan standing under the moonlight, that lonely expression. Tang Beiyuan had a fiancé, and it was the kind of fiancé that she loved deeply. Why would she show such an expression? Chapter 1279. Dong, the first bell rang. It broke the silence. Tang Beiyuan grabbed Yiqing Luo's arm and brought her to the center of the array. Hurry up, after the glower flame fan is restored, I still need to rush back to the palace. Dmo Xian followed closely behind. After the two of them entered the array, Tang Beiyuan walked to the side. It might be a little painful to extract your heart bone. After it's extracted, your body will take a long time to recover. You won't be as weak as you are now. Yiqing Luo nodded, she had already guessed this point. The Overlord will personally extract the heart bone and blood for you. Don't worry about failure, the Overlord will not bear to let you suffer too much. You just need to remember, after extracting the heart bone, you must not leave the Overlord's side. Tang Beiyuan's voice turned solemn. A pair of beautiful eyes gazed at Yiqing Luo solemnly. A high and mighty person is not allowed to have any weakness, and you are the Overlord's weakness. I don't wish for any accidents to happen to the Overlord because of you. Beiyuan. Dmo Xian's handsome brows creased slightly, his eyes sunk as he swept a cold glance at Tang Beiyuan. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo hurriedly pressed Dmo Xian's hand. Miss Tang is right, I will take note. Tang Beiyuan said this to her because she had identified Yiqing Luo as the mistress of the imperial palace. And also because she was sincerely worried about Dmo Xian's safety. Her current ability was indeed not enough to make the people in the imperial palace feel assured. Nirvana realm worshipped Dmo Xian as a god, but there were thousands of people who wanted to pull him down from the altar. She was Dmo Xian's weakness. Which meant those who wanted to pull Dmo Xian down from the altar, as long as they laid their hands on her, Dmo Xian would definitely be controlled. This was also the reason why Ah Feng hated her so much from the start. She could not become Dmo Xian's burden. She could not drag Dmo Xian down. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes sparkled with a resolute glow. She looked at Tang Beiyuan and confidently smiled, word by word, as though she was making an oath. Don't worry, whatever you are worried about, I will try my best not to let it happen. It was the same as what Tang Beiyuan had said when they first met, when she thought that Tang Beiyuan was the second Fengling. He returned it to her untouched. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. The second bell rang. The three of them did not waste any more time. According to Dmo Xian's request, Yiqing Luo sat cross-legged. He began to extract the heart bone and blood. 3 Springs City, the World Mercenary Group's old residence. After several hours of treatment, the wounds on the youths' bodies were finally bandaged. However, if they wanted to fully recover, they would probably have to lie in bed for half a month. Half a month was neither a long time nor a short time. But to these youths, if he didn't train for a day, it was very likely that others would catch up. Not to mention half a month's time. Hearing this news, although the youths were clamoring about finally being able to rest, their hearts were heavy. He had long since gotten used to the torture of training every day. If they stopped cultivating for half a month, how long would it take for them to return to their original level? The youngsters silently cursed the dark forces from the start to the end. After treating the last youngster's wound, Ghost Doctor washed his hands and walked out with a sunken face. Chapter 1280. Ha! The Ghost Doctor sneered. Holy Pirate's smile did not diminish. Old Doctor, to thank you for your hard work, I will personally send you back to the academy today. F***ck off. Ghost Doctor's mouth twitched a few times. He did not look happy at Holy Pirate's gesture of goodwill. Holy Pirate was still smiling as he followed behind him. So many years had passed. The Ghost Doctor was still the same as before, stubborn on the outside, but soft on the inside. Long Yunjian, Qiao Jin, and the rest comforted the injured youths one by one, letting them rest well. The two of them came out of the room and walked down the quiet corridor. The entire journey was silent. After a while, Long Yunjian's cold voice broke the silence. Are you serious about Xiao Yi? Long Yunjian was not a sensitive person. He was completely unaware of the relationship between Qiao Jin and Yan Xiao Yi. If he hadn't seen that scene with his own eyes today, He reckoned that Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi were merely companions. Qiao Jin's footsteps paused. That delicate and pretty face appeared in his mind. His eyes softened as he replied softly, "Yes. That's a straightforward answer." Long Yunzhan gave him a sidelong glance. "What's Xiao Yi's attitude?" Qiao Jin recalled the past few times when he forcefully kissed Yan Xiaoyi, only to be slapped by her. His heart sank. "I don't know." "You still haven't told her?" Long Yunzhan frowned. They were already so intimate, but they still hadn't admitted their relationship. Qiao Jin lowered his eyes, speechless. "I understand how you feel." Long Yunzhan looked at him deeply, and a helpless smile flashed across his azure blue eyes. "I want to say it, but I can't." Facing the woman he loved, he would be nervous. He was so nervous that his mind went blank, and he was unable to accurately express the feelings in his heart. Furthermore, if he told her, they might not even be friends anymore. In order to stay by her side as a friend, Qiao Jin did not dare to say it. But he couldn't say it. "But, you and I are different." Long Yunzhan patted his shoulder lightly. "If you really like her, then tell her your feelings as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will be too late." Qiao Jin nodded silently, countless thoughts surging in his mind. The two of them fell into silence again. When they reached the end of the corridor, the two were about to part ways. Suddenly, a flame flashed before his eyes. The sky was filled with flames, covering the sky and covering the earth as they swept over. One by one, the burning torches fell from the sky. In an instant, all the flammable items in the mansion were set ablaze. The expressions of the two immediately changed. "I will go and take a look at the situation. You, Xiaobo, and the rest, quickly bring the brothers away." Long Yunzhan hurriedly instructed before immediately flying in the direction where the fire had come from. Qiao Jin took out the World Group's medal from his bosom and said, "Brothers, gather at the backyard immediately and carry the injured brothers out." By the time Qiao Jin rushed back to the backyard, Xiaobo and the 20 over people were already waiting for him there. "Executive Commander, why did it suddenly catch fire? Where did this fire come from?" Zhao Bo asked Qiao Jin as he arranged for the other brothers to carry the injured youths out. Qiao Jin's brows furrowed tightly as he shook his head. "Zhan has gone to hunt down the culprit behind the fire. Let's carry our brothers out first. The fire is burning really fiercely. I'm afraid it's going to reach the backyard soon." At this critical moment, the few of them did not dare to be negligent. The fire was getting fiercer and fiercer. Just as the few of them dashed into the room and were about to carry the youths out. In the courtyard where the fire was flickering, batch after batch of people dressed in black robes suddenly appeared. Chapter 1281. People from the Dark Forces. How could the people of the Dark Forces know that we are in the old house? Qiao Jin's expression instantly changed greatly. On the night before the competition, before the effects of the drug had worn off, they had split up into dozens of carriages and returned to the old house while hiding in the crowd. Even the spies of the 3,000 Peach Blossom mercenary group were unable to obtain this information. How could the people from the underworld know about this? Furthermore, hadn't Yi Qing Luo mentioned that under the Imperial Palace's coercion, the Dark Forces totally couldn't spare any energy to deal with them? These questions, Qiao Jin already did not have time to think in detail. He quickly took out a few coin darts from his sleeves and placed them in front of his brothers to protect them. "All of you, leave quickly. None of you can escape." A sharp and proud voice came from the side of the black-robed man. The black-robed man stepped aside, and a graceful woman with a cold and arrogant smile walked over. The woman was also dressed in a black robe. Unlike the others, she did not use the cloak to cover her entire body. Instead, she revealed her face. Qiao Jin's pupils suddenly contracted. "Yi Qing Qian. It's actually you. Wasn't this person the slut Yi Qing Qian who had become the laughing stock of Three Springs City some time ago? Ever since that day when she was humiliated by Yi Qing Luo, Yi Qing Qian seemed to have evaporated into thin air. Unexpectedly, she actually joined the underground forces. And they even joined forces with the dark forces to attack them. Call me Protector Hu, one of the protectors of the dark forces. Yi Qing Jian sneered as she looked at Qiao Jin. Her smile was gloomy. Student Qiao, N. I didn't remember your name wrongly, right? Qiao Jin was startled and his brows knitted tightly together. I didn't expect. The members of the newly rising world mercenary group are actually the students of the Heavenly Academy, the so-called waste class. If the Academy finds out about this, will they regret placing you in the devil class? Yi Qing Qian raised her brows as she gave a teasing smile. I heard that you've won the championship in the interclass competition. As an old classmate, I should congratulate you. Her words, her voice, were exceptionally harsh. Qiao Jin's face sank, his entire body tensed as he forcefully endured his rage and didn't act rashly. There were about 200 people on the other side. All of them were profound practitioners from the dark forces. He possessed the forbidden skills and secret techniques of the dark forces. On their side, there were only about 20 of them who could fight. Furthermore, he had to take care of the other 50 or so companions who were injured and unable to move. In particular, the fire in the old house had spread to the backyard. If they really fought, they would never be able to gain the upper hand. I wonder how Ajan is doing. Yo, isn't this the other students from the devil class? Why are all of you bandaged like this? Yi Qing Qian didn't care whether those people responded to her or not as she covered her mouth and pointed at the youngsters behind Qiao Jin in shock. A pair of evil and cold eyes curved as he smiled. Oh, look at my memory. I forgot that the day before your match, the dark forces happened to pass by the mountain behind your square. We happened to attack them and gave them some pointers. Qiao Jin's tensed body suddenly trembled. His ordinary-looking face immediately revealed a thick anger. Yi Qing Qian looked at his reaction and smiled satisfactorily. I'm rather impressed with you guys, to have received our pointers and still have the ability to compete on the second day. That day, she knew very well how ruthless the Dark Coalition was. They were just short of killing these people on the spot. Not killing them was just to make Yi Qing Luo lose all her face. To make the devil class which Yi Qing Luo led to become cowards who didn't dare to take part in the competition and automatically withdrew from the competition. Chapter 1282. But not only did Yi Qing Luo not follow the plan, because all the devil class students were heavily injured and unable to take part in the competition. Instead she led these devil class students who didn't seem to be injured had won this year's competition's champion. As Yi Qing Qian thought about it, her eyes gradually shrouded with a layer of viciousness. The person who attacked us at the back of the mountain is you. A chilly voice was heard from behind Yi Qing Qian. She saw a blue-robed Long Yun Zhan holding a blue long sword as he charged towards Yi Qing Qian's direction. His eyes were cold as he had no emotions on his face. The long sword in his hand flashed a cold blue ray and in the midst of the flames, it drew out a blue light after image. Boom boom boom, the sword ray was valiant as it struck the crowd of dark forces. Instantly, a huge deep pit exploded on the ground. However, that sinister smile on Yi Qing Qian's lips had already swiftly pulled a distance away the moment Long Yun Zhan appeared. A huge explosion was heard as the entire old mansion shook non-stop. That blazing flame had also burnt down everything in the courtyard. Earth Profound 8th grade. Devil class monitor is indeed not to be belittled. Yi Qing Qian's brows rose as she looked at the domineering man standing in front of Qiao Jin and the rest in ridicule. Earth Profound 8th grade. Zhao Bo and the rest looked at Long Yun Zhan in shock. Other than Xiao Jin and the rest, the other students probably didn't know Long Yunzhan's true profound grade. They only knew that Long Yunzhan was very powerful. But they had not expected that. Long Yunzhan was already an Earth Profound 8th grade advanced cultivator. But while they were shocked, Yi Qingqian didn't show any signs of fear. What's more, there wasn't even a hint of flustered expression. As though an Earth Profound 8th grade cultivator, in her eyes, was just an ant. Zhao Bo and the rest's hearts sunk as they looked at Yi Qingqian warily. They were secretly speculating on what profound grade Yi Qingqian, who had cooperated with the Dark Forces and even got a protector title in the Dark Forces. Long Yunzhan stood expressionlessly in front of everyone as he slowly raised his long sword and pointed it towards Yi Qingqian. His icy cold voice seemed to be wrapped in frost. Those who hurt the world group must be killed. His words had just ended and his figure turned into a flowing light as he charged towards those 200 over people. At the same time, Long Yunzhan's voice came from the world group badge. There's a secret passage in my room. Bring the other brothers and leave immediately. Pang! The light sword flashed. The blue light whistled and the sword radiance surged. The entire courtyard was instantly stirred up by the terrifying profound qi, causing the ground to be filled with rubble and dust. Boom! There was another loud explosion. The long sword sank into the ground. From the moment the blue long sword plunged into the ground, a thin line that looked like a spider's web split open densely. The ground shook, and the surrounding trees and gravel were all cut down by the sword radiance. Yi Qingqian was originally complacent as she was filled with disdain towards Long Yunzhan. One after another, the sword gleams came down and Yi Qingqian's expression instantly turned steely green. Go! Charge! Kill everyone in the light devil class, don't leave a single one alive. Yi Qingqian's voice was sharp as she hurriedly commanded. Smoke and dust filled the air, and they couldn't see anything around them. Due to Long Yunzhan's terrifying aura, the ground shook and the mountain swayed, making it hard to even stand. Momentarily, those people from the Dark Forces turned into a chaotic mess. Whereas on the other side, Zhao Bo swiftly called out to the remaining brothers as they carried the injured students one by one, sending them to Long Yunzhan's room. Don't even think of escaping. Yi Qingqian realized Long Yunzhan's motive as a burst of profound yin qi rose from her palm. Chapter 1283. The profound yin qi, in just a moment, swallowed all the sword radiance which Long Yunzhan had released. Yi Qingqian's arms opened up and with an elegant posture, she landed steadily among the black-robed men. Her eyes were filled with an eerie chill as she gave a cold harumph. The world group's leader, an Earth Profound 8th grade cultivator, are you really willing to submit to a slut skirt? Long Yunzhan didn't say a word. He had no intention to converse with Yi Qingqian. The next sword radiance was released once again. The blue long sword and the sword qi's oppressive grandeur once again enveloped the entire area. The horrifying sword radiance exploded with a huge amount of profound energy. Yi Qingqian swiftly retaliated. Xiao Jin looked at those 200 over people, taking the opportunity to stop Zhao Bo and the rest from assassinating the injured youngsters as the gold coin darts in his hands flew out and joined the battle. Momentarily, the entire old mansion was in turmoil. But after all, there was a huge disparity in their abilities, and with the disadvantage in numbers, they still had to protect the other students. In just half an incense's time, Long Yunzhan and the rest were forced to retreat to the direction of the bedroom in the backyard. Be careful. Guard the bedroom. Xiao Jin was at the front line, entangling with 10 over dark forces. From the corner of his eyes, he saw 10 over people from the dark forces, quietly getting close to those bedroom. His expression sunk as he shouted out sharply. In the bedroom, there were still many brothers who had not been moved in time. Most of the brothers had fallen into a deep sleep under Ghost Doctor's treatment. If the dark forces were to get close, they wouldn't be able to resist at all. But, at this moment, even Zhao Bo and the rest had been restrained by the other dark forces. There was no one who could stop the people who had snuck into the bedroom. The leader of the black-robed men walked into the bedroom and saw a young man who was lying on the bed with his eyes closed resting. The smile on his face was filled with excitement and viciousness. As long as they slaughtered the world group, this bunch of brats, and took their heads, they would have the chance to become the high and mighty guardians. The black-robed man laughed sinisterly as he raised the weapon in his hand, chopping down towards the neck of the sleeping young man. Ah! A miserable shriek was heard. The weapon in that black-robed man's hand was kicked away, shooting out a silver ray in midair. Ah! Another scream rang out. The weapon fell from the sky and happened to stab the stomach of the black-robed man. The other black-robed men took a closer look. An old man in a white robe was standing in front of the young man's bed. The old man's face was gloomy and he looked extremely impatient. The dark forces are getting bolder and bolder. The old man narrowed his eyes as he looked at the black-robed men in front of him. The black-robed men looked at each other. They clearly felt that this old man was not someone easy to deal with. Immediately, he turned around and tried to escape. As he turned around, the eyes of the black-robed men were blinded by a flash of golden light. After getting used to the golden light, Zhang Xian saw an old man dressed in a golden robe, looking like a nouveau riche, standing at the entrance of the room. "Old doctor, I'm done on my side. Why haven't you started?" Holy Pirate rushed into the room. Without a word, he grabbed a man in a black robe and punched him in the stomach. With a casual toss, he grabbed the second person. In just a moment, the few black-robed men lost all signs of life. Ghost Doctor looked back at the young man who was still in deep sleep and frowned impatiently. The dark forces are actually so rampant to such an extent. Looks like this matter needs to be reported to the higher-ups as soon as possible. Chapter 1284. God Thief and Ghost Doctor walked out of the room and sensed a burst of strong profound energy fluctuation. Their expressions congealed as they speedily moved towards the direction of the fluctuation. Long Yunzhan and Qiao Jin were already covered with injuries as they retreated step by step. Whereas in front of the two of them were rows after rows of men dressed in brown warrior robes. Their dressing was extremely simple and the most eye-catching thing was on their arms, embroidered with an extremely conspicuous emperor word. That was Imperial Palace's disciples. Imperial Palace's disciples, any one of them had a pivotal position in the pugilistic world. Any random one of them would be a mystic profound grade 5 and above. Whereas this group of around 30 over Imperial Palace's disciples, the lowest profound grade was Mystic Profound Grade 9 while the highest had already reached Earth Profound Grade 6. Overlord, that fellow seems to be interested in that last Qing Luo. Holy Thief clicked his tongue. His heart that was hanging in the air finally calmed down. These Imperial Palace's disciples must be selected from the Imperial Palace's upper-class disciples. Sending out 30 over upper-class disciples, just to protect these people whom Yi Qing Luo cared about. To Dmo Xian, if it wasn't because he really cared, if he wasn't really interested. Dmo Xian would absolutely not do such a thing. The Imperial Palace's disciples trained in an orderly manner. After helping Long Yunzhan and Qiao Jin to block those attacks, they speedily redistributed their own responsibilities. 20 people stayed behind to continue fighting against the dark forces. As for the remaining 10 over people, they pulled Long Yunzhan and Qiao Jin towards the direction of Zhao Bo and the others. Those 10 over people were extremely agile as they speedily got close to the bedroom and carried the young man who was in deep sleep on their shoulders as they left without turning their heads back. As for those dark forces who tried to sneak into the bedroom to lay their hands on those injured young men, they were immediately exterminated by them. Zhao Bo and the others stared at those Imperial Palace's disciples in a daze. He had mingled in the mercenary group for so many years and naturally understood the meaning of the Emperor word on their sleeves. Imperial Palace, Nirvana Realm's first palace. They had not expected the Imperial Palace's disciples to appear here and help them. Xiao Bo felt that he had followed a good team at this moment. When their mercenary group's management grew up, their mercenary group would definitely become the #1 mercenary group in future. What are you still standing here for? Hurry up and carry the brothers away. Qiao Jin slapped the back of Xiao Bo's head and urged. Xiao Bo repeatedly responded and moved his brothers along with the Imperial Palace's disciples. Qiao Jin glanced in the direction of his brothers who were busy moving things back and forth, then immediately shifted his gaze to the battlefield. 20 over Imperial Palace's disciples, against 100 over people from the dark forces, Yi Qing Qian would occasionally harass them. It was indeed a little strenuous. If it wasn't for their perfect coordination, tacit understanding, and absolute strength, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. After dozens of rounds, both sides were in a deadlock. Qiao Jin gripped the coin dart tightly and was about to rush forward to help. However, a large palm pressed down on his shoulder, stopping him in his tracks. Qiao Jin glanced sideways and met with a pair of icy cold azure eyes. Bring Xiao Yi out first, no one has gone to her room yet. Long Yun Zhan advised. Qiao Jin's footsteps paused. But, what about that side? The Overlord has specially sent people to protect us. We must not let anything happen to the disciples of the Imperial Palace, otherwise. How were they going to explain this to Dizun? What face did he have to face Yi Qing Luo? Chapter 1285. Then you. Qiao Jin's brows were tightly knitted together. The wounds on Long Yun Zhan's body were no less than his. In fact, her injuries were even more serious than his. Otherwise, the Imperial Palace's disciple wouldn't have forcefully dragged them away from the battlefield and indicated that they were only responsible for moving the brothers out of the old mansion. I'm fine. Long Yun Zhan shook his head. I know what I'm doing. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and headed towards the battlefield with his blue sword in hand. Qiao Jin stared at Long Yun Zhan, who was doing his best to kill in the dark forces. His fists gradually tightened. He pursed his lips and glanced in the direction of Yan Xiaoyi's courtyard. The expression on his face didn't change, as if he was hesitating about something. After a long while, Qiao Jin finally took a deep breath, gripped the coin darts tightly, and walked towards the direction of the battlefield. Kid, you'd better be a good boy and move the injured children. Leave this place to me and the old doctor. Holy Pirate came from behind and pressed down on Qiao Jin's shoulder. Qiao Jin was stunned. He turned his head to look at the two people behind him. God Thief, Ghost Doctor, you guys, didn't they leave? Alright, stop talking nonsense. The Ghost Doctor frowned impatiently. He turned around and entered the battlefield. Holy Pirate patted Qiao Jin's shoulder and chased after Ghost Doctor. With the addition of Holy Thief and the Ghost Doctor, the situation of the battle instantly became balanced. Seeing that they had gained the upper hand in the battle, Yi Qing Qian was flustered and exasperated as she commanded the black-robed men who were still alive to attack. Qiao Jin didn't continue to be entangled as he headed towards Yan Xiaoyi's courtyard. This old mansion was bought by Yan Xiaoyi. Excluding the devil-class students and Zhao Bo and the rest. He, Yi Qing Luo, Long Yun Zhan and the others all had their own independent courtyards. Yan Xiaoyi's courtyard was in the corner of the backyard. Qiao Jin quickly walked towards Yan Xiaoyi's courtyard and the expression on his face instantly changed. Originally, he was feeling complicated and apprehensive. He was still thinking about how to face the awkwardness and ambiguity between the two of them not long ago when he saw Yan Xiaoyi. At this moment, a strong feeling of unease and fear emerged. Xiaoyi. Qiao Jin's voice was hoarse and trembling. He ignored the pain from the wounds on his body and quickly ran towards Yan Shaoyi's bedroom. The door to Yan Shaoyi's bedroom was wide open and there was a pool of blood on the floor. It was obvious that there was a lot of noise coming from inside. The people from the dark forces, they even sent people to search the independent courtyard. Shaoyi. His Shaoyi. Xiao Jin's eyes were bloodshot. His fingers were tightly gripping the leopard, cutting his skin, but he didn't care. And the scene after rushing into the bedroom. This caused the blood on Xiao Jin's face to instantly disappear. His mind went blank, as if something had exploded in his mind. There were 5 black-robed men standing in the bedroom. There were 2 people lying on the ground. Blood flowed from the 2 men's bodies. Xiang Shaoyi's bandages had long since fallen apart. She stood in the corner, holding a scythe that shone with blue light and looked like a crescent moon. Such a petite person was drenched in blood. Her hair, which looked like seaweed, was stuck to her face by her cold sweat. She gasped for air and leaned against the wall. Her body swayed and she could not stand steadily. But she still stubbornly refused to fall down. Shaoyi. Xiao Jin's voice was trembling as he called out Yan Shaoyi's name. That pair of bloodshot eyes was once again enveloped by the blood color on Yan Shaoyi. The bewitching red color started to spread bit by bit. His heart was in extreme pain. Murderous intent shot out. Chapter 1286. The 5 black-robed men didn't even have time to react. They only felt a chill on their necks before they lost all consciousness. The power released by a person who was enraged was tens of thousands of times stronger than usual. Xiao Jin stared furiously at the corpses on the ground. He wished he could pull out their tendons and pull out their bones. Xiao Jin, when Yan Shaoyi saw Xiao Jin's arrival, her tense nerves relaxed. The sickle in her hand fell. She stretched out her hand towards Xiao Jin. But she didn't have any strength in her body. Her vision turned black and her body fell down softly. Yan Shaoyi thought that she had always been strong. In this world, the only person she could rely on was herself. Since she was born, the Yan family had treated her as a thorn in their side. Her things should belong to Yan Jinfei. From a young age, she knew that no matter what the situation was, she could only survive by being strong. Just now when she was surrounded by 7 people, she didn't retreat. A few days ago, she was ambushed at the back mountain of the Shilan Square. Before she had recovered, she was hit again in the competition, adding injuries on top of injuries. The side effects of the spirit returning pill, it made her suffer 100 times more pain than before. Under such circumstances, she could still hold on to her will. What's more, she had experienced pain worse than this before. What was all of this? But, the moment she saw Xiao Jin appear, a certain place in her heart seemed to have been violently touched. His worried gaze, trembling and panicked tone made her feel at ease. In his mind, a strange feeling appeared for some reason. It was as if someone was saying to her, "He's here, I'm relieved." Her body and mind relaxed, causing her to lose all consciousness in the next moment. Shaoyi. A terrified voice shouted Yan Shaoyi's name loudly. Xiao Jin's body flashed and he held Yan Shaoyi firmly in his arms. The blood on her body mixed with his. Her body covered in blood and wounds made Xiao Jin's heart feel like it was being pierced by needles. If he had listened to Long Yunzhan and rushed over earlier, Yan Shaoyi wouldn't have suffered such heavy injuries. If he had really chosen to join the battle with Long Yunzhan, then, Xiao Jin's heart was in even more pain. He didn't dare to think of that outcome. He didn't dare to think about the result that he would regret for the rest of his life. Right now, his Shaoyi was in his embrace. That was enough, the resolute man's eyes reddened again. Shilan Square, tunnel. Yiqing Luo's face was pale as she leaned into Dmo Xian's arms. Her pair of charming eyes stared anxiously at Tang Beiyuan, who was sitting by the side, in a state of selflessness as she restored the glower flame fan. The refining process was extremely complicated. Yiqing Luo the alchemist was confused by these complicated procedures. 4 hours had passed since the heart bone was dug out. The process of repairing the glowing flame fan continued. For some unknown reason, a sense of panic and uneasiness welled up in his heart. He had a feeling that something was about to happen. But she couldn't explain in detail what kind of feeling it was. "What's the matter?" Dmo Xian acutely sensed the uneasiness of the young lady in his arms as he inquired in a low voice. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and fell into his peach blossom eyes, which seemed to bear thousands of pampering. The uneasiness in his heart was diluted by this gentleness. She smiled and shook her head. "After repairing it for so long, I am a little worried that there might be other problems with the glowing flame fan." Chapter 1287. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as she buried her face into his chest. "Amen, I'll wait patiently. How does your body feel? It's been 4 hours, it shouldn't be as painful as before, right?" Dmo Xian's slender fingers caressed the back of her head. Extracting the heart bone and blood was extremely harmful to the human body. Even if Dmo Xian had used up almost 20% of his profound energy to alleviate Yiqing Luo's pain, it could only alleviate a little bit of her pain. After all, it was extracting the blood from the heart and the bones from the body. When extracting the heart bone, Yiqing Luo's face turned pale from the pain. But she had been biting her lower lip and didn't make any sound of pain. Dmo Xian's heart ached so much that he couldn't wait to bear it for her. But, for Yiqing Luo's future, for her to become stronger. This bit of pain, she must bear it. "My body is all right," Yiqing Luo responded softly. After a moment of silence, she finally opened her mouth to ask, "How long does this kind of pain and discomfort usually last?" Her words had just ended when her shoulders were pressed by his large palms. The man's anxious voice floated into her ears. "Where do you feel uncomfortable now? Is it still very painful here?" His large palm pressed down on her breasts. Yiqing Luo was stunned as she raised her eyes to look at Dmo Xian. Before she could answer, Dmo Xian had already anxiously held her hand and felt her pulse. "After extracting the heart bone, it will at most hurt for 1 hour. Do you still feel pain now? Where does it hurt? Don't tell me I'm wrong to extract the heart bone for you." A series of questions, as though he was muttering to himself, came out from his mouth. Looking at Dmo Xian's eyes filled with worry and guilt, Yiqing Luo couldn't say the words that were at the tip of her tongue. After a long time, she curled her pink lips and slowly shook her head. "No, I'm just asking casually, to see if there's any difference between me and those who have extracted their heart bone." Dmo Xian's hand, which was holding her wrist, loosened as though a heavy burden had been lifted. His fingers, once again, stroked her hair. "If you feel uncomfortable anywhere, you must tell me, do you hear me?" It was as if he was admonishing a child, extremely doting and extremely gentle. Yiqing Luo's head, which was buried in his chest, nodded as her eyelids drooped down, concealing the complicated emotions in her eyes. She raised her fair little hand and placed it on her chest without anyone noticing. After extracting her heart bone and heart blood, she had always felt a dull pain, as if she was being pricked by needles. Up until now, 4 hours had passed. Although she didn't feel as much pain as before, there was still a very strange feeling. Was it an illusion? All right. Mission accomplished. A joyful voice came from the side. Tang Beiyuan wiped the sweat off her forehead and smiled in relief. "At least I didn't let you down. The devouring flame fan has been repaired." Yiqing Luo's attention was immediately attracted by the glower flame fan. Yiqing Luo's fingers had just touched the glower flame fan when she suddenly froze. The moment the glowing flame fan touched her fingertips, there seemed to be a kind of, the feeling of his soul being shaken. It was as if the glowing flame fan had already fused with her soul. She could clearly sense that the glowing flame fan was transmitting some kind of excitement to her. This was the glowing flame fan which was restored using the heart's blood and heartbone. The glowing flame fan in her palm, the touch and weight was no different from the past. But it was obviously more exquisite. Chapter 1288. For example, there was a dagger hidden in the handle of the fan. Moreover, on every support of the glowing flame fan, there were all kinds of hidden weapons. He had also obtained 10 wintry silver threads. Compared to before, its lethality was much greater, and it was much more convenient to use. Mistress, where did you learn how to design weapons? Too powerful. Can I ask you to help me draw weapons in the future? Tang Beiyuan's eyes sparkled as she looked hopefully at Yi Qing Luo. Although it took a lot of effort to repair the glowing flame fan, it was still not enough. But to be able to restore the glower flame fan, and according to Yi Qing Luo's request, adding so many bold hidden weapons. He was filled with pride. As a blacksmith, she was well versed in the design of weapons. Yi Qing Luo's request. When the glower flame fan was completed, she was shocked. It's my honor to be able to serve the #1 armament master. Yi Qing Luo's eyes curved into crescents as she tried out the glower flame fan in her hands. Tang Beiyuan cheered in excitement. At this moment, she finally looked like a 17 or 18-year-old girl. We've gotten the weapons, let's hurry back to the old mansion, everyone is still waiting for us there. Yi Qing Luo kept the glower flame fan and looked up at Dmo Xian. Under the bright candlelight, Yi Qing Luo's pale face was reflected. Dmo Xian frowned, let's rest for the night and continue our journey tomorrow. You've just extracted your heart bone. Even if you want to recover quickly, you'll need to rest for 5 or 6 days. I'm fine. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled upwards as her little hand grabbed his lapel as she laughed lightly. Aren't you still by my side? Those children have taken the soul-restoring pill, so they must be in extreme pain right now. At least at this time, I want to be by their side. When she mentioned those brothers in the world group, Yi Qing Luo's expression became extremely gentle. There was a hint of gentleness in her eyes. Don't they always say that I'm their hope? I think they wouldn't feel so bad if I were there. If it wasn't for the glowing flame fan, she would have rushed back to the old mansion after the competition to check on the injuries of the youths. Now that the gourd flame fan had been repaired, she was not willing to stay in the West Lawn Plaza for even a moment longer. You. Dmo Xian sighed softly as he shook his head helplessly. This was also why he was more and more attracted to Lil Luo. He seemed cold and heartless, and his methods were ruthless. At such a young age, he wouldn't even bat an eyelid when killing someone. But she cherished the people she cared about and the people she wanted to protect with all her heart. All right, I'll accompany you back. Dmo Xian placed his palm on Yi Qing Luo's head. Lord Overlord. Tang Beiyuan's expression congealed as she hurriedly called out to Dmo Xian. The remaining words were at the tip of his tongue. But she was stopped by Dmo Xian's stern gaze. Yi Qing Luo acutely sensed something as her vision turned towards Tang Beiyuan and looked at Dmo Xian. Is there an urgent matter over at the Imperial Palace which requires you to settle? Tang Beiyuan opened her mouth, but in the end, she closed it and looked away. Yi Qing Luo suddenly understood. Ah Xian, it's only half a day's journey from here to the old mansion, with Ah Feng accompanying me back, it'll be fine. The Imperial Palace is not a big deal. With you and Li Xian guarding it for me, I can rest assured. Dmo Xian hugged Yi Qing Luo's waist as he glanced sideways at Tang Beiyuan. Beiyuan, Xiaoling is here too, bring her back. Tang Beiyuan's footsteps halted as she nodded slightly. Yes, Overlord. Chapter 1289. Dmo Xian's eyelids drooped down as his peach blossom eyes reflected her face. His lips curled upwards and everything in the world seemed to have lost its color. Yiqing Luo's breathing stopped as her heartbeat sped up. He leaned over and pressed his lips against her ear. His deep magnetic voice lingered beside her ear. No matter how important the imperial palace's matters are, it's not as important as you. Just a few simple words, but it seemed to be something that touched Yiqing Luo's heart fiercely. Her cheeks were flushed red. The arms around his neck also tightened at this moment. Her blushing face was plastered on his shoulder as she spoke in a low and extremely soft voice. "Ah Xian, I like you." She wanted to tell this feeling to Dmo Xian. This man had always placed her in the most important position in his heart. To her, Dmo Xian was also the most important person to her. She liked Dmo Xian. Very much, very much. The man who was hugging her stiffened as though he was stunned by Yiqing Luo's sudden confession. That long eyelashes fluttered unnaturally. His fair skin was obviously tainted with a touch of redness. Yiqing Luo seemed to have discovered a new continent as her eyes widened as she started giggling. "Ah Xian, are you shy?" Yiqing Luo's eyes curved as she smiled. She didn't expect her confession to be able to see such an expression from Dmo Xian. As the head of a formidable hidden family in the 21st century. Every time she was teased by Dmo Xian until her face turned red, hovering between life and death. This was the first time she saw Dmo Xian's shy look. Decided, in the future when there's nothing to do, she would say some sweet nothings. At the very least, he had to return the favor to her for flirting with him. How could she be the only one who was shy? Shut up. Dmo Xian turned his face away as he forcefully pushed Yiqing Luo's head into his arms. His footsteps quickened. Yiqing Luo refused to let him off. "Ah Xian, Xian, your ears are all red. You like me that much?" Dmo Xian looked embarrassed. He pretended to glare fiercely at the girl in his arms, and the corners of his mouth twitched indifferently. Soon after, he bent down and fiercely kissed those pink lips that were still chattering away. Everything in the surroundings was quiet. Looking at Dmo Xian's departing back, Tang Beiyuan was unable to retract her gaze for a long time. Just now, Di Zun was really shy. She had never seen Di Zun like this. That expression, that childish behavior. There was not a trace of the arrogance that he had in the past. He was just an ordinary, pure, ordinary man. The overlord had truly fallen in love with Yiqing Luo. It was only by Yiqing Luo's side that the overlord seemed like a real person. A person of flesh and blood, a person of joy and sorrow. No matter how important the Arch Palace is, it's not as important as you. These words kept lingering in his mind. She could not help but laugh softly. However, deep in his eyes, there was a strong sense of loneliness. If this sentence, her fiancé was willing to say to her, how good would that be? Unfortunately, she was afraid that she would never be able to hear these words again in this lifetime. Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian were riding on Little Nine as they rushed back to the old mansion. Little Nine's speed was extremely fast and the distance was reduced by half. In less than 4 hours, the two of them had already reached Three Springs City. In order not to attract too much attention, the two of them changed to walking as it was not far from Three Springs City. At this moment, it was just daybreak. The roadside was already crowded with people and it was extremely lively. Have you heard? Yesterday there was a huge fire, which directly burnt that old mansion in the west completely. Chapter 1290. Right. It's that the World Mercenary Group's old mansion, wasn't it the mercenary group which was surrounded by the Yuchi family previously? Mercenary group. They must have offended the enemy and last night the enemy specially came to seek revenge. That's called burning thoroughly. The surrounding houses are not affected at all, apparently they are targeting the World Mercenary Group. If it wasn't for the fact that we saw the fire when we were making night watch this morning, I'm afraid we wouldn't know about this matter till now. The surrounding commoners were talking about the gossip which had spread throughout the entire Three Springs city early in the morning. Yiqing Luo originally wasn't interested in these gossips. But indistinctly, she heard everyone discussing about burning, the world group, enemy. She then diverted her attention to listen. After she understood what the commoners were talking about, her face instantly turned pale like a piece of paper. Xian. Yiqing Luo grabbed Dmo Xian's robe tightly. Dmo Xian's expression was grave as he held her little hand tightly. Let's go back and take a look first. The two of them increased their speed as they sped towards the direction of the old mansion. Before they even got close to the old mansion, Yiqing Luo smelt a thick smell of smoke. There were several commoners surrounding them as they pointed and gossiped. Yiqing Luo's expression turned paler by the minute. She let go of Dmo Xian's arm and her figure flashed as she speedily shifted to the entrance of the old mansion. There were several bailiffs from the surrounding as they carried out one corpse after another from the old mansion. Yiqing Luo knocked into one of the bailiffs and the stretcher which she was carrying instantly slipped out of her hands. The corpse on the stretcher fell onto the ground. That corpse was already burnt as it gave off an extremely pungent smell. The bailiffs were sent here early in the morning to carry the corpse as he raised his head and started scolding, "Who dares to disturb the official's work? Don't you want your life?" When his gaze met Yiqing Luo, the bailiff's expression changed. Three Springs sect's young matriarch. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about the bailiffs as she stared straight at that pitch-black corpse. How many people are dead? Young matriarch, my condolences. Don't worry, the officials will definitely find the murderer and take revenge for the World Mercenary Group. The bailiff stuttered. In the entire Three Springs city, there wasn't anyone who didn't know Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was the World Group's vice group leader and this was something which everyone knew. Yiqing Luo's face turned gloomy as she raised her hand to grab the bailiff's collar. I'm asking you, how many people have died? The runner's legs went soft. Currently, the government has carried out more than 30 corpses. All of them have been burned beyond recognition and cannot be identified. There are more than 100 corpses in the backyard. The bailiff at the side continued, young sect master, someone must be seeking revenge. There are obvious signs of a fight in the backyard. Please think carefully and see if you've made enemies with anyone recently. Yiqing Luo turned a deaf ear to their words. His head was buzzing, and he felt like he was about to explode. She stared at the pitch-black corpse on the ground, breathing heavily. Clenching her fists tightly, she quickly strode into the old house. Lil Luo, calm down. Dmo Xian stretched out his hand and grabbed Yiqing Luo's arm. Her little hands were cold and trembling. To be precise, Yiqing Luo's body was trembling non-stop. Even though she was nestled in Dmo Xian's arms, her body was still trembling. A peerless face was extremely pale. Her eyes were sparkling with a glint of crystal-clear tears, as she looked at Dmo Xian's face with a vacant look. Xian. Yiqing Luo's breathing tightened. Accompany me. Accompany me in, I want to confirm. No one could recognize those youngsters' corpses. But she recognized them. The corpses which were lying on the ground were not from the World Group. Over 100 corpses in the backyard. It might not be the World Group's youngsters. Chapter 1291. Dmo Xian comforted her by kissing her forehead. Don't worry, they will be fine. The trembling young lady in his arms didn't say a word. The little hand that was holding onto his shirt curled up a little more. Dmo Xian's peach blossom eyes squinted slightly as he tightened his arms around her. He lowered his head and pressed his lips against her ear. The young lady's faint fragrance entered his nostrils. His eyes flickered slightly as he suppressed the emotions that he shouldn't be feeling at this moment. He said in a gentle voice, "You're a little pervert, and the people you've trained are naturally perverts as well. If they can't even avoid this little danger, how can they stand by your side and fight alongside you? Yiqing Luo was stunned. The warm breath on her earlobe kept brushing against her skin. Her long curly lashes blinked, and when she looked at Dmo Xian again, there was finally some spirit in her eyes. Dmo Xian's slender fingers pinched her nose. Believe in them, believe in the companions who can stand side by side with you. His deep magnetic voice made Yiqing Luo's body softened. Her heart seemed to be wrapped and covered by a warm current. That's right, she should believe in the brothers whom she had her eyes on. She should believe in her own companions. They were no longer the youngsters who were labeled as trash in the past. They already had enough power to stand by her side, companions who could stand side by side with her. Believe in them. Just like how they believed in her, believe in them. Yiqing Luo's nervousness and panic, at this moment, vanished into thin air. Her lips curled into a smile as she nodded vigorously. Thank you, Xian. Dmo Xian rubbed her head, held her little hand and pulled her directly to the old mansion which had long been destroyed by the fire. The crowd of commoners and the bailiffs who were watching the show behind them were stunned. That handsome man who looked like a god descended, could it be? The legendary overlord. That otherworldly temperament. That flawless handsome face. That awe-inspiring majesty which made one inexplicably submit to him. He emitted a strong demeanor of a monarch. Other than the overlord, there was. Who? Such a man was so intimate with Yiqing Luo. Like a husband and wife, intimately hugging each other, whispering in a warm voice. So, the young lord of the Three Springs sect family really had such a relationship with the overlord. The common people talked about it enthusiastically, spreading the news from 1 to 10, 10 to 100. However, the two of them who had entered the old mansion were unaware of this matter. Not a single part of the old house was left unscathed. The air was also filled with a pungent smell that made one's stomach churn. From time to time, the blackened wood could no longer support its weight and fell to the ground, emitting an ear-piercing sound. Yiqing Luo walked quickly towards the backyard. As soon as he arrived at the backyard, he saw the burnt corpses all over the place. It was clear that a great battle had just taken place. Sensing carefully, he could still vaguely sense a faint trace of profound energy remaining in the air. Yiqing Luo looked around for a while and slowly closed her eyes. A burning sensation gradually welled up in his chest. This was the strength of her profound jade heart. She could sense the profound rank of a profound practitioner that was higher than hers. He could distinguish the grade of other profound practitioners' profound heart jades. Previously, after her profound jade heart was dug out by Yiqing Ling and the people from the dark forces, she was still able to rely on the remnant energy of the profound jade heart stored in her heart to sense it. Now that the profound jade heart had returned to her body, this ability of hers was getting stronger and stronger. Probing for a moment, she indeed sensed the remnant profound energy in the surroundings. It's the dark forces. Yiqing Luo's brows creased, vaguely sensing the profound yin qi which came from the dark forces. This aura was not obvious. Chapter 1292. Dark Forces. Dmo Xian's handsome brows creased slightly as he looked at Yiqing Luo. Are you sure? Logically speaking, under the harassment of the Arch Palace, the Dark Forces would definitely not have the time to attack these youngsters from the World Mercenary Group. To the Dark Forces. As long as Yiqing Luo wasn't around, they could casually send out any cultivator and they would be able to squash these youngsters to death like ants. The Dark Forces' target was only Yiqing Luo's profound heart jade and Yiqing Luo only. How could they possibly ambush the world group at this critical juncture? Yiqing Luo remained silent for a moment and slowly shook her head. I'm not too sure, the profound yin qi's response is very weak. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes again, preparing to magnify her perception. Suddenly, she felt a dull pain in her chest, causing her face to pale. Her fair little hand pressed against her chest, her eyebrows knitted tightly, her breathing heavy. "Don't force yourself." Dmo Xian noticed the change in her expression and grabbed her hand, which was placed on her chest. "It hasn't been long since the extraction of the heart bone. Your body isn't suitable to use profound energy." Yiqing Luo opened her eyes and didn't persist any further. Even if he could sense the faint mysterious yin qi, it would be useless whether it was from the dark forces or not. Right now, the most important thing was to find his brothers so that he could know what had happened last night. The two of them stood in the middle of a group of corpses, their gazes searching through the charred corpses. His heart, which was hanging in the air, gradually calmed down. There were no corpses here. Not a single one. This meant that her brothers were still alive. Luo, look over there." Dmo Xian pointed towards the direction of the independent courtyard. "Look at the ground." Yiqing Luo followed the direction of Dmo Xian's finger. Countless messy footprints could be seen on the charred ground. Bloody footprints led in the direction of the independent courtyard. Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian exchanged glances and both of them rushed towards the independent courtyard at the same time. Following the clear footprints on the charred ground, he arrived at Long Yunzhan's courtyard. The two of them walked in, and their footprints finally stopped at the door of Long Yunzhan's bedroom. The bedroom had already been burnt black, and almost everything had been burnt down. The ground was covered with piles of charred wood, scattered all over the place. Dmo Xian pulled Yiqing Luo's wrist and shoved her behind his back. Soon after, the wind from his palm stirred, and a hurricane blew up all the wood shavings in the room. Under the layers of wood chips, a square hole was revealed near the corner of the wall. Was that the secret passage? Long Yunzhan's room actually had a secret passage. Is this another secret tunnel that the old man holy thief built when he had nothing better to do? In other words, there was a high possibility that the world group members had left through this secret passage. After the hurricane dissipated, Yiqing Luo's figure flashed as she stood in front of the cave entrance. He reached out and touched something near the entrance of the cave. With a caw sound, the entire corner of the wall collapsed, revealing a hole that could fit a person. It was indeed a secret passage. Yiqing Luo's eyes shone brightly as she pulled Dmo Xian's hand and was about to rush into the secret passage. Dmo Xian held her little hand tightly and pulled her behind him. Only then did he take the lead and walk into the secret passage. It was just a casual action, but it made Yiqing Luo's lips curl into a sweet smile. The two of them, one in front and one behind, entered the secret passage. This secret passage wasn't considered spacious, and it was extremely simple. Chapter 1293. This secret passage was about 10 meters long. When the two of them walked out of the secret passage, they discovered that outside the secret passage was an abandoned forest behind the old house that had not been taken care of for a long time. As the commoners said, this fire only destroyed the entire old house. The houses near the old house and the abandoned forest were not affected at all. Perhaps, when the other party burned down the old residence, they had specially set up a barrier to isolate the outside world. On the ground, there were countless messy bloody footprints. It was especially eye-catching on the withered leaves. Yiqing Luo took a look at the direction of those footprints. It was the direction to the abandoned forest. Just as she was about to follow the footprints, her ears twitched and her expression froze. Who is it? At the same time, Dmo Xian tightened his grip around her waist. A majestic profound energy surged out from his body, sweeping up the fallen leaves on the ground. A tall figure walked out of the forest, his blue robe fluttering in the wind. When she met that pair of azure blue eyes, Yiqing Luo retracted the vigilance in her eyes as she speedily went up. "Ah Zhan, are the brothers all right?" Long Yunzhan shook his head lightly. Everyone is safe. Yiqing Luo heaved a long sigh of relief and patted her chest. It's good that you're all right. It's good that you're all right. It's all thanks to the help of the Emperor Palace's disciples sent by His Majesty. They escorted us all the way to safety. Long Yunjian cupped his hands together as he bowed towards Dmo Xian. Lord Overlord, I represent all the brothers to thank Lord Overlord for lending a helping hand. His tone was extremely sincere. This was his heartfelt gratitude. Last night, if it wasn't for the Emperor Palace's disciples, he wouldn't have been able to ensure the safety of all his brothers. Your little Luo, his brothers, this lord can't bear to see little Luo, upset, there's no need to thank me. Dmo Xian hugged the young lady in his arms tightly as he spoke the truth. It was also a declaration to Long Yunjian, only he could protect this woman. Long Yunjian's eyelids drooped down as he tried his best to control himself, not looking at the intimacy between Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo. Ah Zhan, are you hurt? Yiqing Luo could smell the faint scent of blood in the air. It floated over from Long Yunjian's direction. She reached out, grabbed Long Yunjian's wrist, and felt his pulse. Long Yunjian retracted his hand in a panic. I'm fine, are you all right? Yiqing Luo's expression turned chilly, as her earlier joyous mood that her brothers were safe and sound, instantly congealed. She forcefully grabbed Long Yunjian's arm and sneered, weak aura, excessive blood loss, you call this fine? Long Yunjian's thin lips trembled. He lowered his head and did not reply. Yiqing Luo then discovered that Long Yunjian's frail body was actually trembling slightly. His injuries, it was definitely not light. Seeing Yiqing Luo's expression turning colder and colder, Long Yunjian's brows creased slightly as he explained in an extremely unnatural manner. The ghost doctor has already personally bandaged my wounds, and I've also eaten the pills that the ghost doctor personally refined. I've also obtained the ghost doctor's permission to come here to pick you up. The ghost doctor is here too. He was a person who was afraid of trouble and would rather spend all his time refining pills and researching pills. He actually became a doctor and helped these youths bandage their wounds. Perhaps, it must be because of her. Her ghost doctor master. Yiqing Luo sighed helplessly, it seemed that she owed more and more favors. Yiqing Luo released Long Yunjian's wrist. Where are all of you now? Are you safe? At the mention of this topic, a strange expression appeared on Long Yunjian's face, which had always been calm. Chapter 1294. By the time Yiqing Luo followed Long Yunjian to the World Group's temporary residence, she finally understood why Long Yunjian's expression was so strange. The World Group's old residence was at the west side of Three Springs City. And the place where they were temporarily staying was at the east side of Three Springs City. The people who stayed at the east side were either rich or respectable. This huge mansion was a luxurious mansion, extremely luxurious. After they stepped into the mansion, Yiqing Luo sensed that something was amiss. This huge mansion. No matter if it was the furnishings or the style, it was almost the same as the old mansion which Yan Xiaoyi had bought. Even that pond in the garden was exactly the same. If it wasn't for the fact that she had seen it with her own eyes earlier, the old mansion had been burnt to ashes. She even suspected if she had walked into the previous old mansion. There weren't many people in the entire huge mansion. It was until Long Yunjian led them to the rear courtyard when Yiqing Luo faintly heard someone talking. She saw 10 young men dressed as manservants, bustling about. Some were carrying medicinal soup, walking back and forth. Some were carrying water basins, walking back and forth. There were 10 maids, who were in the same state. Zhao Bo and the rest were among them, interacting with those manservants, while busying themselves with the matters on hand. Captain Long, you're back. Suddenly, a clear voice was heard from one of the rooms. A man dressed in a dark red woven gold robe, with brown auspicious clouds rolling around him, walked out from the room. The man's black hair was coiled up, secured by a purple jade crown, neat and tidy. His lips carried an intimate smile, as though he was a graceful gentleman, as gentle as jade. From the looks of it, this man's age wasn't old, roughly around 21 or 22 years old. Long Yunjan's expression congealed as he nodded towards that man, young Master Shi. Others might not be able to detect the change in Long Yunjan's expression, but how would Yiqing Luo, who understood Long Yunjan, not notice it? She sized up the seemingly gentle man in front of her in confusion, secretly guessing his identity. That man noticed Yiqing Luo's gaze, as he gave her a warm and courteous smile. I believe this must be the extraordinary lady which Captain Long mentioned, young sect master Yiqing Luo. Seeing is believing, indeed you're devastatingly beautiful. His tone was just right. Anyone who heard it would not feel the slightest bit disgusted. It made people feel that he was praising her sincerely, without any blasphemy. I am Shi Shanglan from the Shi clan. The man introduced himself. Yiqing Luo had never heard of this person's name and there wasn't any information about him in her mind. However, she still maintained an elegant smile on her face. Young Master Shi. This is. Shi Shanglan looked at Dmo Xian who was standing beside Yiqing Luo. This man's presence was too strong. Especially when he was praising Yiqing Luo, this man's gaze seemed as though he wanted to dismember him. Yiqing Luo held on to Dmo Xian's arm, smiled and didn't answer. But this action also represented the answer to everything. Qing Luo. Earlier when Shi Shanglan walked out from the room, Qiao Jin's voice was heard. In the next instant, Qiao Jin walked out of the house. He was in a sorry state, and his uniform was in tatters. His long hair was disheveled and scattered over his shoulders, and there was a patch of greenish-black under his eyebrows. His eyes were filled with exhaustion and when he saw Yiqing Luo, he forced out a smile. You're finally back. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she looked at the open door. No need to guess, that must be Yan Xiaoyi's room. Qiao Jin's gaze paused on Shi Shanglan for a moment. Chapter 1295. No need. Yiqing Luo wasn't in the mood to rest. What exactly happened? Why was the old house burned down? Qiao Jin's expression sank slightly, and he was just about to speak. He glanced at Shi Shanglan out of the corner of his eye and stopped what he was about to say. The ghost doctor and god thief are waiting for you. Let's go over first. Shi Shanglan gave a gentle smile knowingly. I'll go buy some more herbs. You guys can chat first. Yiqing Luo nodded her head slightly as she expressed her gratitude in a mild voice. This man, who looked as gentle as jade, seemed to be graceful and polite, and his every movement was extremely elegant. But maybe it was because Long Yunjan and Qiao Jin's attitude towards him wasn't that warm, and there was a trace of distance. Yiqing Luo disliked the house and its crow, so she didn't have any good impression of Shi Shanglan. After Shi Shanglan left, Qiao Jin led the way at the front. He briefly explained the fire that had happened last night. When Yiqing Luo heard that, her slender brows creased slightly as she squeezed out a few words between her teeth. Yiqing Qian, it's her again. Yiqing Qian actually dared to come out and create trouble. At this critical juncture, he was still unwilling to let the world group off. Other than Yiqing Qian who hated her to the core, there was no one else. Did he really think that he would be invincible just because he held on to the leopard saint technique's thigh? Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with an evil cold intent. Little Luo, don't be rash. Dmo Xian's long arm wrapped around her slender waist. He did not like to see such an expression on her face. I won't be impulsive. Yiqing Luo sneered, her little hand covered the hand on her waist. I was just thinking. If I see Yiqing Qian next time, I will not hold back and tear her into pieces. She would not impulsively seek revenge on Yiqing Qian now. Yi Qing Qian's backing was the dark forces, Wolf Saint's forces. The brothers of the world group had yet to recover from their injuries. Furthermore, because she was repairing the glowing flame fan, her heart bone and heart blood had been extracted, and the abnormalities in her body had yet to dissipate. She was impulsive. He was bound to suffer. But, for this revenge, she would definitely make Yi Qing Qian pay a painful price. She wanted Yi Qing Qian to suffer a fate worse than death. The ruthless glint in his eyes was like a sharp blade. The atmosphere instantly froze. Qiao Jin suddenly stopped in his tracks as he turned around to look at Dmo Xian. Today, the world group was able to escape by a fluke, all thanks to the Imperial Palace's disciples' help. His words broke the strange and cold atmosphere at this moment. The iciness in Yi Qing Luo's eyes dissipated as she raised her eyes to look at Qiao Jin. Qiao Jin sincerely bowed towards Dmo Xian. Lord Overlord has lent a helping hand today. If there's any need for me in future, I will definitely risk my life to help you. It could be said that it was the lives of all the brothers in the world group. He was saved by a disciple of the Emperor Palace. The Imperial Palace's disciples protecting them secretly was under Dmo Xian's instructions. No matter if Dmo Xian's action was to protect them or for Yi Qing Luo. It was an indisputable fact that the Emperor Palace had saved the world group. Dmo Xian didn't stand on ceremony as he held a smile that didn't look like a smile, his brows raised slightly. There will definitely be a place where I can use you. After walking down 2 long corridors, they arrived at the direction of the medicine refining room. Ghost Doctor was refining medicinal pills while God Thief was chewing on a piece of straw in boredom, looking around the surroundings. On seeing Yi Qing Luo entering, God Thief's face was filled with joy. Last Qing Luo, you're finally back. Master Ghost Doctor Yi Qing Luo's gaze was fixed on Ghost Doctor and God Thief for some time, as she hesitated to speak. Chapter 1296. Ever since the last time at God Thief's courtyard, she had seen the both of them. Yi Qing Luo felt that they definitely knew each other previously. The Ghost Doctor's appearance here was mostly because of God Thief. Yi Qing Luo had a strange feeling. It seemed like Ghost Doctor took her in as his disciple. She met God Thief in Death God Castle and brought him out. Everything. It was fated in the unseen world. Or intentional. Yi Qing Luo didn't know why she would have such a thought. Only that things happened one after another. The dark forces kept on harassing and attacking her. The more Yi Qing Luo felt, the more she felt that everything seemed to be deliberate. Of course, she didn't doubt God Thief and Ghost Doctor's sincerity towards her. She believed that Ghost Doctor and God Thief really treated her like a girl and doted on her. The smile on God Thief's face froze as he coughed dryly. This isn't important. The important thing is, you already know about the old mansion's fire last night, right? Seeing that God Thief had no intention to tell her, Yi Qing Luo didn't continue to ask. She believed that one day, God Thief would tell her about his matter. Yi Qing Luo nodded her head as her slender brows creased slightly, going along with God Thief as she changed the topic. Our brothers traveled through the night and took different routes back to the old residence, yet they were detected by the dark forces. This is just too strange. To everyone. Devil Class was going to challenge the Overseer on the second day. No matter what, they couldn't possibly leave the West Lawn Square on the night of the challenge. Yi Qing Luo had specially asked the brothers to split into different routes to leave the West Lawn Square. Most importantly, other than themselves, no one else knew that Devil Class's students had taken the spirit returning pill. How could the dark forces be so coincidental? Choosing today to set fire to the old mansion. Resolutely setting fire and even sent 200 over dark forces to assassinate them. Apparently they were certain that they were in the old mansion. Moreover, they clearly knew that they didn't have any combat ability and wanted to burn them alive. The old mansion was guarded by God Thief. If anyone investigated the matters in the old mansion, God Thief would definitely know about it immediately. Which means the dark forces know about our whereabouts. Xiao Jin frowned. Be careful during this period. Pay attention to whether there are any suspicious people around you. Yi Qing Luo's gaze swept the surroundings as she suppressed her voice. If the dark forces are really clear of our whereabouts and current situation, then staying here might implicate that young Master Shi. When Xiao Jin and Long Yunzhan heard this, the expressions on their faces changed slightly. Xiao Jin's brows furrowed even more tightly as his face darkened. This young Master Shi still brought us to his house even though he knew that we had enmity with our enemies. I don't believe that he's just being kind. It wasn't that Yi Qing Luo didn't believe that there were kind-hearted people in this world. But the word kind heart was really not related to Shi Shanglan. Even though Shi Shanglan appeared to be extremely gentle and refined. However, his pair of jade-like gentle eyes had already revealed his true inner thoughts. Shi Shanglan was definitely plotting something. But, at this moment, Shi Shanglan brought them into the house and sent men over to coordinate with the world group members to take care of those who were still unconscious. He had to return this favor. It was better to have a plan. At least, it was easier to return the favor. A debt of gratitude was the hardest to repay. Long Yunzhan, who was at the side, immediately reached out to help. She knows. Xiao Jin's voice was extremely hoarse, and it faintly revealed a trace of self-ridicule. He laughed softly. She always knew that she had a fiancé, didn't she? That. But Xiao Yi doesn't take this fiancé seriously at all. She didn't agree to this marriage, but it seems like young Master Shi really wants Xiao Yi. Chapter 1298. Peach stammered as she wanted to continue explaining. However, a hand rested on her shoulder and pressed down lightly. Peach turned her head and saw a pair of enchanting eyes with a hint of a sly smile. Stop talking. No matter if Xiao Yi treats young Master Shi seriously or not, in young Master Shi's eyes, Xiao Yi is his fiancé. Yi Qing Luo stopped Peach's words. Her gaze calmly looked at Xiao Jin. Since he's Xiao Yi's fiancé, as Xiao Yi's companion, it's natural for us to stay here. Saying that, she smiled at the dazed Peach. Let's go take a look at Xiao Yi. Following that, she held Dmo Xian's arm with one hand and Peach's hand with the other as they walked out of the pill refining room and headed towards the direction of the courtyard. The furnishings here were exactly the same as Yan Xiao Yi's old residence. Yi Qing Luo easily found Yan Xiao Yi's room. Before she entered the room, she saw Shi Shanglan sitting on the wooden chair by the bed from the half-open door, looking at the person on the bed with a warm expression. His gaze was focused. Gazing at the person on the bed, as though he was gazing at his most precious thing. After a long time, Shi Shanglan's body leaned slightly towards the bed. His slender fingers touched Yan Xiao Yi's cheek. A trace of heartache surfaced in his eyes. Xiao Yi, the last time we met, you said, if I continue to pester you, you will break my leg. Now that we've met, I even touched your cheek. I'll wait for you to get up, I'll wait for you to break my leg, all right. His voice was hoarse and one could hear the deep feelings in his tone. He felt heartache for Yan Xiao Yi. Heartache, very heartache. Peach, who was standing by the side, couldn't help but be moved when she heard that. This way, it was indeed too easy to move one's heart. Qing Luo. If we really stay, what about Xiao Jin? She didn't want to admit Shi Shanglan's good treatment of Yan Xiao Yi, but the moment she thought of Xiao Jin's deep feelings for Yan Xiao Yi, Peach couldn't help but feel heartache. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she glanced sideways at the person who was following them and said softly, if this blockhead wants to be enlightened, other than relying on himself, there's nothing we can do. Isn't this an opportunity for him to properly understand his feelings towards Xiao Yi? Peach nodded as if she was suddenly enlightened. At this time, Qiao Jin and Long Yunjian had already caught up. Seeing Yi Qing Luo and the rest standing not too far away from the entrance, she followed their line of sight in puzzlement. Shi Shanglan was holding Yan Xiaoyi's hand and bringing it to his lips. Qiao Jin's eyes quickly turned red, and a vicious aura burst forth from the bottom of his eyes. Almost instinctively, he strode into the room and grabbed Shi Shanglan's shoulder with one hand. He shouted sternly, "What are you doing?" Shi Shanglan was not prepared and was struck by Qiao Jin's palm. Chapter 1299. Shi Shanglan's words were humble and polite. No one could find any fault with them. But the meaning behind his words was, he was Yan Xiaoyi's fiancé. Yes. Shi Shanglan was announcing his relationship with Yan Xiaoyi. Moreover, it was a declaration that his relationship with Yan Xiaoyi was extremely loving. As expected, Qiao Jin's face completely darkened. Young master, she has suffered such a serious injury. Aren't there more than 20 doctors in the outer courtyard? Young master, she had better go and bandage the injury on your shoulder first. Yi Qing Luo was worried that Qiao Jin would suddenly explode as she hurriedly interrupted Shi Shanglan's words. Her eyes were filled with guilt. She pulled Tao Zi to her side. Jin Zi and Tao Zi, accompany young master Shi to the outer courtyard to find a doctor. Don't let him fall ill. As he spoke, he pushed Qiao Jin, whose entire body was stiff and his muscles were taut, towards Shi Shanglan. This brother of mine doesn't know how to control his strength. I don't even know if that palm just now hurt the muscles and bones in your shoulder. Shi Shanglan looked at the livid Qiao Jin. He endured the pain in his shoulder and rubbed it. He smiled warmly and said, "I'm fine, it's just a small injury, Before he could finish his words, Yi Qing Luo's furious berating voice interrupted his words. Yi Qing Luo's expression sunk as she stared at Qiao Jin, Jin Zi. Young master, she was the one who brought us, who were heavily injured and chased by our enemies, back home. He's our benefactor. You've injured our benefactor. Why aren't you taking young master Shi to the outer court to bandage his wounds?" Qiao Jin's expression was still livid, but his face was still tense as he looked toward Shi Shanglan. Shi Shanglan opened his mouth as he looked at Yi Qing Luo and then at Qiao Jin. Tao Zi, who was standing by the side, took the initiative to pull Shi Shanglan's arm, while the other hand held Qiao Jin's hand. As they walked and tried to ease the atmosphere, "What Qing Luo said is right, that palm strike earlier is not light, we must let the doctor take a good look at it." Pulling and dragging, the three of them left the room. Yi Qing Luo's gaze swept across the entire bedroom. The furnishings here were exactly the same as the furnishings in Yan Xiaoyi's bedroom in the old mansion. Evidently, in order to please Yan Xiaoyi, Shi Shanglan had built this luxurious mansion exactly like Yan Xiaoyi's old mansion according to her taste. After the trio's footsteps disappeared, Long Yunjian's gaze fell onto Yi Qing Luo. "What did you discover?" Yi Qing Luo retracted her gaze from the surroundings as she slowly walked to the side of Yan Xiaoyi's bed, lowering her eyes as she gazed at the sleepy Yan Xiaoyi on the bed. Xiaoyi didn't fall asleep naturally. On her body, there are still remnants of the sleeping herb scent. Yi Qing Luo looked at the medicinal soup which had already cooled down. She picked up the medicinal soup and gently stirred it with a spoon. Soon after, she brought it to her nose and sniffed it. There's nothing wrong with this medicinal soup. However, there's the smell of medicinal herbs on Xiaoyi's body. This means that Xiaoyi has consumed sleeping herbs before. Long Yunjian's expression froze. "You mean, I have a guess." This was what Yi Qing Luo had been guessing ever since she entered Yan Xiaoyi's room. She paused and her gaze collided with Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian caressed her fine black hair. There are no spies in the surroundings. Yiqing Luo was assured as she squinted her eyes and spoke calmly. Shi Shanglan brought us to the Shi family's mansion at this juncture. Although this is just a mansion in Three Springs City, but it still belongs to the Shi family. Chapter 1300. Just standing outside Yan Xiaoyi's room door, Yiqing Luo sensed something strange. But after smelling the sleeping herb on Yan Xiaoyi, Yiqing Luo felt strange. Shi Shanglan used a sleeping herb to make Xiaoyi fall into a deep sleep. His goal was to let us see how devoted and affectionate he was towards Xiaoyi. Initially, Yiqing Luo felt strange when she saw the half-open door. Especially when he saw that Shi Shanglan was the only one in the house, he felt even more strange. If Shi Shanglan specially came to feed Yan Xiaoyi medicine, he could totally close the door. Of course, if he was worried that a single man and woman would attract criticism, he could totally leave them alone. But Yan Xiaoyi's door was half open. It seemed to be half hidden. On the contrary, it seemed somewhat deliberate. He made Yan Xiaoyi fall into a deep sleep and specially let them hear his confession and deep feelings for Yan Xiaoyi. Yiqing Zhen had no other way and didn't want to think about it in another direction. This was the reason why Yiqing Luo specially sent Xiao Jin away. Otherwise, based on Xiao Jin's personality, he would definitely attack directly when he knew that Shi Shanglan might be using Yan Xiaoyi. What is his motive for doing this? Long Yunzhan asked in a low voice. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes lifted up slightly as she met Long Yunzhan's eyes, as she said word by word, gain our trust, and from there cooperate with the World Mercenary Group. Or, he wants to use Xiaoyi to inquire about the whereabouts of the divine equipment. She, Yiqing Luo, Three Springs Sect's young matriarch, the World Mercenary Group's vice group leader. The news of him possessing a divine artifact had spread throughout the entire Nirvana realm. There were millions of people who wanted to get their hands on the divine artifact. As long as there was a chance to snatch the god artifact from her hands, he would definitely grab it. Divine artifact, yes, if he could get close to Yan Xiaoyi and gain their trust. It would be a piece of cake to take away the divine relic from Yiqing Luo. Compared to the goal of cooperating with the World Mercenary Group, they were more inclined to do it for the artifact. When the World Mercenary Group was established, they had upgraded the mercenary group to a bronze plate at the fastest speed possible. However, their subsequent development was far too slow compared to other mercenary groups. It had been almost 3 months. The number of members in the World Mercenary Group had not even broken through 100 people. Moreover, after completing those 2 extremely difficult missions, there were only 20 or so team members, and they would take on some small, normal-level quests every few days. It was impossible for Shi Shanglan to go through so much trouble just to cooperate with World Connect. Of course, these are only my guesses. Don't tell Jin Z for now. Yiqing Luo took a look at Yan Xiaoyi, who was still in deep sleep. As for other matters, let nature take its course. She was referring to the matter between Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi. Once the brothers can get out of bed, we will leave this place. In the evening, after dinner, Yiqing Luo let Zhao Bo and the rest go back to rest. Last night, no one had the chance to rest at all. Today, he had been busy taking care of his injured brothers. He should be tired from being so tense. Yiqing Luo's room was arranged next to Yan Xiaoyi's. Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian had just walked into the courtyard when they heard a sharp voice shouting from outside, "You bunch of dog slaves! You even dare to stop me? Do you know who I am? Get out of my way!" After that, a few crisp slapping sounds could be heard. Shi Shanglan's expression instantly darkened. He frowned slightly and a tinge of helplessness appeared in his gentle eyes. Chapter 1301. Shi Shanglan was startled. He waved his hands and said, "Miss Yi, please don't misunderstand. I don't have any relationship with that lady. If they weren't friends, why would they barge into his old residence and act so arrogantly, even whipping the servants who tried to stop them? No one would believe such a thing even if he said it." Yiqing Luo ridiculed in her heart but did not show it on her face. She only smiled and nodded at him, then pulled Dmo Xian towards her own room. The footsteps behind him had already reached the courtyard. When she saw Shi Shanglan, the woman's furious voice could already be heard. "Shi Shanglan. Where is that little bitch? Young Miss Yen." After hearing the woman's words, Shi Shanglan's expression darkened and he frowned slightly. "Isn't Miss Yan's action a little too unbecoming? Demeanor?" The woman sneered and pushed Shi Shanglan's chest harshly. "You are a man, yet you brought my sister into your mansion. Even if the two of you are already engaged through the matchmaker's words, before you get married, a man and a woman staying in the same mansion alone, why don't you say it's unbecoming of you?" Shi Shanglan was speechless at these words. His jade-like gentle eyes were filled with helplessness. It was as if he was already used to this woman's rude and unreasonable personality. Yiqing Luo felt that this lady's voice sounded rather familiar. And the fiancé who mentioned the matchmaker, wasn't that Yan Xiaoyi? Puzzled, she glanced sideways at the woman. Coincidentally, his gaze met the woman's. The young lady's gaze went past Shi Shanglan, and when she saw Yiqing Luo who was walking into the house, her face instantly turned pale like a piece of paper. Yiqing Luo. Why are you here?" That woman was none other than a stranger. It was the eldest daughter of the Yan family, Yan Xiaoyi's elder sister from the same father and mother, Yan Zhenfei. When Yan Zhenfei saw that Yiqing Luo was also in the Shi family's mansion, she was completely stunned. Towards Yiqing Luo, she hated her from the bottom of her heart and feared her from the bottom of her heart. In the academy, even if it was Yiqing Jian who was the first to step into the earth-profound stage, she was also forced to go missing by Yiqing Luo. Even Lu Shuiyu was defeated. She didn't dare to have any conflict with Yiqing Luo. Why was she so unlucky to meet Yiqing Luo, this god of plague? "Yo, isn't this student Yen?" Yiqing Luo retracted her footsteps into the house as her lips curled into a teasing smile, as she sized Yan Zhenfei up. "Student Yen, in this round of interclass competitions, you've suffered a series of defeats, and it seems that you've been eliminated in less than half an incense's time. I wonder if the Yen family will still love and pamper you like before." Yan Zhenfei's face turned green and white. Yiqing Luo's words were simply stabbing a knife into her heart. Yan Zhenfei was extremely talented and the Yan family had high hopes for her. But this was a class confrontation. Yan Zhenfei's performance had completely shamed the Yan family. You. Yan Zhenfei was so angry that her face turned red, her chest rising and falling. After she returned from the competition, she was indeed reprimanded by the Yan family from beginning to end. Moreover, the Yan family's old grandmother even said that she would be sent to the Shijing sect to cultivate. The Ten Scenery sect was the largest sect in the Nirvana realm. The sect master was even Yiqing Jian's master. She had heard from Yiqing Jian that the Ten Scenery sect's disciples cultivated extremely hard, without any freedom at all. As compared to going to the Ten Scenery sect to cultivate, Yan Zhenfei wanted to stay in the academy more. At least in the academy, it wouldn't be so tough. Moreover, her reputation in Heavenly Academy was much better than being a small disciple in Shijing sect. His gaze slowly landed on Yan Xiaoyi's room. "No matter if she's a low-level mystic trash, or a trash that can't cultivate, I love her. This alone is enough for me to treat her well." "You." Yan Zhenfei's fingers trembled in anger. Love? Ever since Yan Xiaoyi was born, she was an abandoned chess piece that everyone despised. Her existence was a mistake. Everyone in the world should loathe her and abandon her. What love? That kind of slut didn't deserve love. Yan Zhenfei clenched her fists and charged towards Yan Xiaoyi's room. With a bam, Yan Zhenfei kicked the door open. Shi Shanglan reacted and quickly followed to stop her. Yan Zhenfei charged into the room and saw a woman sitting against the bed with a mocking smile, looking at her coldly. That gaze was as cold as ice. Chapter 1303. You, Yan Zhenfei pointed at the girl on the bed and felt an inexplicable sense of guilt. The person on the bed had a pale face and looked sickly. A head of hair that looked like seaweed spread over her shoulders, adding a hint of weakness to the exquisite and beautiful girl. If she ignored that cold gaze, Yan Zhenfei would probably be stunned by this exquisite face. Was this still her good-for-nothing sister? In her memory, Yan Xiaoyi was lifeless and disheveled all day long, looking like a crazy woman. She still remembered that as long as she got close to Yan Xiaoyi, it was as if she felt the arrival of the god of death. Everyone in the Yan family was disgusted by his lifeless demeanor. But the girl in front of her now was even more stunning than her. How could this be her sister? Miss Yan, how have you been? Yan Xiaoyi's cold voice rang out in the room. Yan Zhenfei felt an inexplicable sense of fear. You are Yan Xiaoyi. How could you be Yan Xiaoyi? Yan Xiaoyi curled her lips and narrowed her mocking eyes. What does who I have to do with Miss Yan? Before Yan Zhenfei could speak, Shi Shanglan forcefully grabbed her arm and pulled her back. Xiaoyi is not feeling well and needs to rest. Go out first. The girl in front of her was really Yan Xiaoyi. She was Yan Xiaoyi. Yan Zhenfei's eyes glowed. Her gaze was fixated on Yan Xiaoyi without blinking. Suddenly, she broke free from Shi Shanglan's hand with an unknown strength. A gust of profound qi broke out of her body and gathered on her palms. Her eyes were bloodshot and filled with hatred and resentment. She slammed her palm at Yan Xiaoyi. Little slut. Yan Xiaoyi, who had disappeared for 3 years, had really returned. And she had returned with a brand new appearance. If not for the fact that the commoners outside were discussing, Shi Shanglan would have brought his fiancé and his fiancé's companions into his residence. She probably did not know about this. She definitely could not let Yan Xiaoyi return to the Yan family. Especially at this time, her father and mother were blaming her for her poor performance in the interclass competition. She couldn't let Yan Xiaoyi steal her position. The Yan family only needed one daughter, and that was enough. Yan Zhenfei. Shi Shanglan shouted. He didn't expect Yan Zhenfei to attack just like that. Just as he was about to release his Xian Qi to stop Yan Zhenfei's palm, he caught a glimpse of a red figure outside the door. In the next instant, his body rushed in front of Yan Xiaoyi, opened his arms, and suddenly hugged Yan Xiaoyi. Bang! A palm landed heavily on Shi Shanglan's back. Shi Shanglan grunted and spat out a mouthful of blood. The intense pain made him furrow his brows tightly. Shi Shanglan. Young Master Shi, Yan Zhenfei's terrified voice sounded. Immediately following that was Yiqing Luo's astonished voice. The ones who walked into the room were not only Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian, but also Long Yunzhan and Qiao Jin. The few of them had just entered the room when they saw Shi Shanglan hugging Yan Xiaoyi tightly and blocking that palm for her. Yan Xiaoyi, who was being hugged tightly, was astonished. This scene was indeed shocking. Shi Shanglan actually took the initiative to block Yan Zhenfei's palm for Yan Xiaoyi. Even Yiqing Luo couldn't help but frown slightly, not sure of the guess in her heart. Could it be? Chapter 1304. I didn't do it on purpose. Yan Zhenfei was frightened by this scene. She trembled and retreated. The person I wanted to hit was that slut. You suddenly charged at me, it had nothing to do with me. If the Yan clan found out that she had injured Shi Shanglan, the consequences were unthinkable. She would definitely be forcefully sent to the Shijing sect by her grandmother. Pa! The crisp sound of a slap resounded throughout the room. Yan Zhenfei felt a burning pain on her face and a metallic taste in her throat. A trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. The next moment, she was pushed against the corner of the wall. A cold blade was pressed against her face. Student Yan, if I hear another word that insults my companion from your mouth, I'll make you speechless for the rest of your life. Yiqing Luo's icy cold voice sounded like an Azura from hell. Her hand moved a little. The sharp blade cut Yan Zhenfei's neck. This is outside the courtyard. If one is not careful, then it can only be treated as an accident, don't you think? Right? Yiqing Luo finished smiling. But Zhenfei didn't see any hint of a smile from Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes. You dare. Yan Zhenfei's voice quivered as she stared at Yiqing Luo in terror. After digesting what Yiqing Luo said earlier, her expression congealed. What did you say? She's your companion. Yan Xiaoyi was Yiqing Luo's companion. Could it be that Yan Xiaoyi was also a member of the World Mercenary Group? A member of the World Mercenary Group? What did this mean? That meant, Yan Xiaoyi was no longer a wastrel. She had also heard of the World Mercenary Group's matters. But, didn't the rumors say that? The members of the World Mercenary Group were all disciples of the Emperor Palace. That was why they were able to complete high-level missions that even a gold medal mercenary group might not be able to complete. Was that why he was invincible and became a legend in the mercenary world? How could Yan Xiaoyi have the qualifications to enter the World Mercenary Group? Yiqing Luo could tell what Yan Zhenfei was thinking about with just one look. She curled her lips and looked into Yan Zhenfei's eyes, saying word by word, she is my Devil Class's class committee president, and also the executive group leader of the World Mercenary Group, so of course she is my companion. Devil Class, executive leader. Yan Zhenfei was dumbfounded. She stared at Yan Xiaoyi in disbelief, unable to believe what she had just heard. How could this be? How could Yan Xiaoyi be a student of the Devil Class? How could she possibly join the World Mercenary Group? And he's the executive leader of the World Mercenary Group. Executive leader. That was a position second only to the deputy leader. To be able to hold such a high position in the World Mercenary Group, it meant that Yan Xiaoyi's ability was sufficient to lead a mercenary group. No, impossible. She's trash that can't even break through to the yellow mystic realm. Yan Zhenfei's heart was filled with fear as she muttered and shook her head. Muttering softly, Yan Zhenfei's mind suddenly cleared. An image appeared in his mind, in the Heavenly Academy's Heavenly Training Forest. He had once encountered an intruder. She still remembered that at that time, there was a ghostly voice that kept chasing after her. That voice kept telling her, your opponent is me. At that time, she felt that the voice was extremely familiar. It was extremely similar to Yan Xiaoyi's voice. However, his swift and fierce movements had dispelled her conjecture. But now, she was not entirely sure. Chapter 1305. Piak, another slap landed on Yan Zhenfei's face. That was a slap without any profound energy at all. It was entirely her own strength, slapping Yan Zhenfei's face. Yan Zhenfei's cheeks were swollen from the slap. Yan Zhenfei cried out in pain as tears streamed down her face. I've said this before, don't insult my companion. Yiqing Luo's voice was exceptionally cold. That squinted eyes were filled with an eerie chill. Yan Zhenfei held her cheeks as she bit her lower lip. No matter how much resentment and hatred she had in her heart, she didn't dare to show it on her face. Qing Luo. Yan Xiaoyi, who was lying on the bed, suddenly called out Yi Qing Luo's name. Yi Qing Luo glanced over. Hearing Yan Xiaoyi's voice, Yan Zhenfei suddenly regained her senses. She looked at Yan Xiaoyi in terror, and in a few steps, she rushed to Yan Xiaoyi's bedside. In this situation, the few of them didn't stop her. Under their eyelids, no matter what Yan Zhenfei thought of, she wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. Sister. Yan Zhenfei rushed to the bedside, anxiously trying to hold Yan Xiaoyi's hand. Yan Xiaoyi avoided her hand in disgust. Yan Zhenfei missed and could only grab the blanket on Yan Xiaoyi. Sister, I'm your biological sister from the same father and mother. You won't let them hurt your biological sister, right? Her voice trembled uncontrollably. As she said that, tears welled up in her eyes. That pitiful look made one feel pity for her. But the few of them present didn't have any good impression of Yan Zhenfei. Yan Zhenfei's look, in their eyes, was just a joke. Yi Qing Luo leaned into Dmo Xian's arms as she crossed her arms, staring at them without blinking. At this moment, they couldn't interfere. After all, this was Yan Xiaoyi's personal matter. If Yan Xiaoyi wished for them to let Yan Zhenfei off, she didn't have any objections. The entire room was terrifyingly strange. Only Yan Zhenfei's sobbing could be heard. Yan Zhenfei's heart became emptier and emptier. We have the same blood in our veins, we are sisters. As long as you say it, they will let me go. Yan Zhenfei was extremely vexed. Why didn't she investigate anything today and just rush to the Shi family's other residence? She found out from the commoners that there was a huge fire that destroyed the World Mercenary Group. Shi Shanglan brought his fiancée back to his residence. When he heard the word fiancée, Yan Zhenfei threw the fire and the World Mercenary Group to the back of her mind. All he could think about was Shi Shanglan's fiancée. The cowardly and incompetent bitch Yan Xiaoyi who disappeared for 3 years. He immediately rushed to the residence of the Shi family. If he had linked Yan Xiaoyi and the World Mercenary Group together, she would not be so submissive now. And even sought help from that slut, Yan Xiaoyi. Yan Zhenfei suppressed her displeasure and disdain for Yan Xiaoyi. In a soft voice, she continued to plead, Sister, my good sister, when I return to the Yan family, I will let father and mother come and fetch you personally, okay? Yan Xiaoyi looked at Yan Zhenfei with a smile which didn't look like a smile, as her lips curled into a sneer of ridicule. Sister. Eldest young Miss Yan, I'm afraid you've got the wrong person. Earlier I heard everything clearly when I was in the room. Didn't you say that you're the only eldest young miss in the Yan family? Yan Xiaoyi interrupted her words, as her brows rose with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Chapter 1306. In his memory, Yan Xiaoyi had been neglected since she was young. To Yan Xiaoyi, the most important thing was feelings. As long as he gave Yan Xiaoyi a little bit of hope, Yan Xiaoyi would be willing to sacrifice her life for him. Yan Zhenfei thought that she had used kinship and the name of her parents to pressure and deceive Yan Xiaoyi. Yan Xiaoyi would definitely beg Yi Qing Luo to let her off for the sake of kinship. As long as she got out of here alive. At that time, he would think of a way to deal with Yan Xiaoyi. But who would have expected this? Yan Xiaoyi's transformation was so huge. No matter what was said, Yan Xiaoyi still had a cynical and sarcastic look on her face from beginning to end. Yan Zhenfei's expression darkened. It was already her limit to be so submissive to the slut that she had always looked down on. If Yan Xiaoyi still refused to give face, how expensive. Shi Shanglan, who had been sitting paralyzed on the wooden chair, spoke in an extremely weak voice after a long silence. The wound on his shoulder had already split open. Just now, he had also suffered a palm from Yan Zhenfei. At this moment, he looked extremely weak. He called Yan Zhenfei's name softly. Xiao Yi is my fiancée and will be the Shi family's madam in the future. As the Yan family's eldest daughter, please watch your words and actions. Pausing for a moment, the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. For Xiao Yi's sake, I won't tell the Yan clan about what happened today. When Shi Shanglan said that he would keep it a secret, Yan Zhenfei's heart was finally at ease. No matter what, she couldn't be sent to the 10 Scenery sect. Seeing Yan Zhenfei shut her mouth, Shi Shanglan then turned his gaze towards Yiqing Luo as he gave a weak smile. Miss Yi, Zhenfei doesn't have any ill intentions. I think I just want to see my sister whom I haven't seen for a long time. If it's possible, can you let her go? Yiqing Luo did not reply. She looked at Yan Xiaoyi. This is your house, if you want her to leave then let her leave. Why are you asking my Qing Luo for? Yan Xiaoyi frowned as she spoke in an unfriendly tone. Shi Shanglan smiled helplessly. He seemed to be used to Yan Xiaoyi's attitude towards him. He looked at Yan Xiaoyi gently. The tenderness in his eyes could not be concealed at all. Shi Shanglan's fiery gaze caused Yan Xiaoyi to frown. She subconsciously looked at Qiao Jin, who had not said a word since he entered the room. Qiao Jin's gaze fell on her. His face was gloomy, and a storm seemed to be brewing in his eyes. They had been partners for so long. Yan Xiaoyi could tell with one look that all the muscles in Qiao Jin's body were tensed up. That was a sign that he was angry. Every time Qiao Jin was enraged, his body would tense up. Is he angry? Was he angry because of her relationship with Shi Shanglan? In other words, was Qiao Jin jealous? This thought caused Yan Xiaoyi's heart to beat faster.